This is Yaya Diamond, and I want to welcome you to the show today. We have amazing people on the show. Yes, 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 darling. And today we have an amazing author, and she has a book out. I know she has great experience because I think this is like a medical or we're going to find out. Because to me, this is like interesting. This is like right up my alley because I always have questions for medical people, like, nurses and doctors and people who are all into like health. And I am definitely into health. I want to live as healthy and as long as possible. And I want to go ahead and welcome to the show, Linda. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, welcome, Yaya. I'm so glad to be on.
Yes, I'm glad that you're here. May I tell you? So tell us a little bit more about your journey so far before you wrote the book. Like, your journey towards the book is what I'm really interested in.
Okay. So first of all, the book is You Have Time to Die and Go Broke. And it's a comprehensive, easy to read book on how to get the best healthcare possible with a system that is in a critical state. I mean, It's not easy to get the best healthcare possible. And the reason for that is the healthcare system is very complicated. So and it's very interconnected. So therefore, I wanted to write a book on healthcare that was easy to read, but yet comprehensive, whereby it has, what you should expect from a primary care, what happens if you end up in an emergency room, heaven forbid,
Yeah.
wait 8 hours in an emergency room, what do I do? And if you get admitted to the hospital, where's my results? What do I have? Well, the doctor needs to be able to have all the results before he can tell you what's going on. Also, let's not forget about insurance, people. And that's also so important. And then medical health is very connected to physical health. So how do I get the best medical care I can get? So my book explains that, but in a simple manner. And so I feel that you should read this book before you end up in a actual state where, how do I pay this medical bill?
I think you're late. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
But they can still do that, right? They can still read this book and kind of help themselves.
Yeah. I think if I could say anything, to narrow it down, it would be you have a voice. Use it.
That's it. Use your voice. Wow. So what was a personal experience that you had to make you write this book?
Okay, so what happened is that I was a caregiver for my in-laws. My husband David unfortunately had passed away from pulmonary fibrosis. And now I'm a caregiver for my mom who has dementia. So through this journey, I learned a lot about caregiving, but also how to navigate the healthcare system.
Okay, gotcha. Wow. What do you think are the biggest obstacles that patients face in the current healthcare system, and even the caretakers or caregivers?
It's all the way around. I have seen doctors frustrated. I remember David was like, I was at this office and the doctor goes, why is he here? Because he was referred to by another doctor. He's here, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, well, that doesn't make sense. Why is he here? I don't know. Call your doctor. Call his primary, the one who referred. Because you are number 8 in the queue. And it's like, the heck with it. Slams the phone down and says, I'll just put it in my records.
Oh, wow. Oh, my gosh.
And it's like, oh, yeah, that's the least of everything. And so I have a story recently on respect to this. What happens is I have a specialist I go to. They just got bought out by a company. And so and what happened is I had an appointment and I need to reschedule it. So I called up and there's like 5 different prompts. So I go, hey, let's try the primary care one just for the heck of it. You are number 110 in the queue. It's like, are you for real? Yeah, really? That was my luck.
What the heck?
And I'm like, okay, let's try the other prompt. You are number 17 in the queue. Screw it. And I'm like, okay, let's try this prompt. You are number 7 in the queue. Oh, well, this is possible. So I'm like, waiting and waiting. And I'm like, all right. And then I get, to make a short story, I got disconnected after, So anyways, I call back, got this thing. So instead of waiting, I'm like, okay, you can call, like have them call you back. So okay. So I call back. So I said, so I did something, went back. Oh, you in the queue even got bigger on another prompt. Okay, I'll tell them call me back, right? So then in the meantime, I had gotten the email about the appointment. So let me check the number on it. So I checked the number, called them up, right? And the guy answered, and I'm like, dude, this is totally insane. And I just let them have it. I'm like, this is unacceptable to be 110 in the queue. And then I call back on another one and get disconnected. Yeah. And I was just letting him out. I'm sorry. Hey, guess what? 15 minutes later, I get the phone call. Hi, how can I help you? And I'm like, yeah, I want to reschedule my appointment. Oh, okay. And like, they reschedule the appointment. Then I get another phone call. Hi, how can we help you? Oh, that's okay. I already got it rescheduled. Can we just verify that it's rescheduled?
Oh my gosh.
So another thing to remember in healthcare, besides you have a voice, is to be persistent. That's also extremely important, because the bottom line is, if you don't use your voice, if you don't be persistent, then what happens is you have time to die and go broke.
Yeah. Darling, my gosh. So, okay, so how can patients or even caregivers prepare themselves for these long waits, this medical attention that's needed, and all of the good stuff, so that we can actually be better?
Okay, so what happens is, if you're a caregiver, okay, and you're taking care of an elderly person, what happens is, in the state of Massachusetts, they have Blue Cross Blue Shield. They have what they call a company health. So therefore, patients who qualify, and a company health is 24 hours. They have a nurse that comes every so often. They have an actual social service there. And so it helps a lot. But the thing is, you have to go and you have to make sure that the people that are supposed to be doing their job are doing their job. Now, in the emergency room, if you have to go into the emergency room, try urgent care unless, sort of like, you can't breathe, you're having a heart attack. But if you can go to urgent care, it's kind of better before you go to the emergency room.
I don't like urgent care.
Yeah. Okay. Can we hear your stories?
So funny. Every time I've gone to urgent care, they send me to the ER. And
that's a lightweight thing.
It wasn't a major issue either, because ER is like, well, why didn't they take care of you at the urgent care? I'm like, they sent me here.
Yeah. I feel your pain, girl. Believe me. So what happens is, once you're in emergency, like in the emergency room, what happens is there's supposed to be a nurse that actually does triage. So you can't just go to any nurse and say, what's happening? Where am I going to be seen? So you go to the reception and say, I want to speak to the triage nurse. Okay? All I can think of is that poor woman. I don't know if you heard it in the national news, who was going to deliver a baby and she delivered it in the car.
Yes, I saw that.
You know what I would have
What
done,
the
girl?
heck?
That
What
baby has to come out, right? That baby has to come
was
out.
she was ready. She was, by the time she got in the car, she was already 10 centimeters. And
Oh
why
yeah,
did
I
they
would
even
have been
sit her down?
screaming. I would have been polite and just like wiping my. I would have been screaming.
I would have. It would not have gone down that way. I would have been like, I am going to be in the ER room, and I'm going to deliver on the chairs.
Yeah, it was sort of like, okay, she's wearing, it's sort of like, okay, I got my leggings on. These leggings are coming down, people.
That's it.
You
I
want to shout?
would have been naked in the lobby. I would have been naked in the lobby. It would have been. Let me tell you, it would have been somebody just been able to
really?
say, what is going on here? Because I would have been like, these are coming off now.
Yeah. You're right, girl. If you have to do it, do it.
Oh, but people got fired over that.
They should have.
They should have, and she should sue. She should, because they should have admitted her. Because they admit people with 3 centimeters dilated and 4. They admit people with less dilation than her. That she wasn't ready is not an excuse. They have admitted people in their, in just regular hospitals. I'm not specifically that one, but in regular hospitals with very big, and fluctuations of the contractions, and they're only at 4 centimeters, and they're in the room already. What the heck is that?
Yeah, I have the same exact thoughts.
That doesn't make sense.
Right, and now to talk about insurance, what happens is that they have the cost of denial that's on TV, a segment. And so there was these 2 twins. And so the 2 twins had the exact same medical issue. They allowed one of the twins to be treated. Then they took the other one and they said, no, we're not. So, of course, they're putting, like, if you ever have a claim, it gets denied, take and redo it. Don't just accept the denial.
Right.
So, get denial. So, anyways, what happens is the students of these kids found out about it. So, the teacher had them write a letter to the health insurance. So this was excellent because, of course, it's a class in writing, but teaching these kids they have a voice. For the insurance company humanizing what's going on, because they just use an algorithm. They don't see the person behind that claim.
No, they don't.
So I was just like, oh my, that is so wonderful, because the insurance company said, okay, we accept the claim.
Yeah. You gotta be an advocate for yourself. What about people with terminal illnesses? What do you say to them?
The terminal illness, what happens is that it's terminal. So right. What happens is, technical wise, you have to have all the paperwork taken care of. You after you have all the paperwork taken care of, that's important, because the end of life. Also, what happens is that you can get hospice care.
Okay.
The hospitals are pretty good with hospice care. The one thing I will tell you that I learned, that I was like, okay, I didn't understand this at first. And it's so important to understand, because if you ever get into that situation where you have to take, and you're the one responsible for saying, okay, you can pull the plug now. Right. What happens is, when Dave had pulmonary fibrosis, there was what happened is that he had a week he was really sick. So finally went into the emergency room, and he went into ICU, and then they said, okay, he was unable to expel the CO2 from the pulmonary fibrosis. So they tried to put a certain mask on him that would take in the CO2 out. And so they're like, we have to use this mask. It's like, let's just let him die. And I'm like, no, I have to see if the mask works. I need to see if he tolerates it. I need to see, okay, is it going to be just at night? Because if he has to wear this 24 hours, forget it. That's not going to work.
Yeah.
But we got to pull the plug. And that hospice care came in and blah, and it's sort of like, okay, the end of life, what you have written down. And I'm like, I went to my mom and I said, they're rushing me to make this decision. I can't believe they're rushing me to do this. They're rushing me. And so I talked to a friend of mine who is a doctor that I had interviewed for the book, and she says it's because you need time to process. You can't make that decision on the spot.
No.
You need time to process it.
Yes.
So don't let them, I understand you don't want to have the person suffer, but the person who has to make that decision needs to process that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Wow. I went through losing my mother last year.
Yeah.
And, gradually I just saw her deteriorate. It was the worst thing. And I think I didn't want her to deteriorate like that. I wanted her to go. I didn't want her to be in pain. But when she did pass and they called me and they told me she was gone, even though I knew that was where we were going, we were headed, I still wasn't ready.
You need time to process it.
Yeah.
In my case, I think they needed the room in ICU. So, and I've heard this situation before, so I think that's why they kind of like wanted to hurry me to take and sort of like pull the plug. But what happened is he, I found, it's sort of like, okay, he's not doing fine at all with the mask to take the CO2 out. It's time. So I go, and then they're like, okay, we're pulling everything out. And I'm like, what? It's like, please, I don't recall the name, but what they put in your nose.
Yes.
And then, so leave that in him because he freaks when he doesn't have it on. He keeps thinking, I can't breathe. At least if he's going to pass away, let him pass away comfortably with that. Yeah.
What changes do you want to see in the healthcare system?
One thing that I think is critical is get private equity out of it. Private equity should have no business in hospitals. No business. They are for profit and they just see it as profit.
Yeah.
So the first thing I want is get private equity out of there.
Definitely.
That's like one of the things.
Are there any resources or tools or even, guidelines in your book that people can use to actually help them?
I think what is good about it is because it goes into the different aspects of the medical field. So it does have some organizations that you can refer to.
Okay.
So it has that. But it's basically how do I deal with these situations? Sort of like, okay, say for instance with the insurance. Okay, so now you have a medication that costs like X amount of thousands of dollars, right? Well, in the commercials they say check with the company who makes the medication.
Right.
And they have a finance department, and I've done that, and you work, and they'll work with you. Also, there's grants, so you can apply for grants. So that's kind of like in there to help you out. Caregiving is the aspect of like hey, it's sort of like you need to have some time to yourself. You have to be extremely determined to do it.
Yeah.
It's a battle between your well-being and the person you're caregiving well-being.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree with
And
you.
you have to be determined for your time. And also there are, like, in Fitchburg where I live, they have Fitchburg Health Community Center, and so
Hmm.
you can go there even if you don't have insurance. So check, where you live, if they have some health care where you don't need insurance or for low cost.
Hmm.
There's government organizations that can help you.
Right.
Um, but and in mental health, the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
Mm-mm-mm. Wow. What can and how can people be ready? Because we're all going to get sick at one point. There's no one healthy 100% of their lives. But what can you do to empower yourself to understand the system before you actually, or even either the patient or yourself, like a caregiver, to empower yourself to actually be ready for this? Or is there such thing?
Um, I'm not sure if there's such a thing to be completely ready to completely um be prepared. Because each person's situation is different. But
Yeah.
sort of my book does is comprehensive, so it deals in all these different aspects. So that's important. You have time to die and go broke. As I said, it's comprehensive, so it has all that in there. But there are services out there, so it's important to do your research.
That's wonderful. And your
Yeah,
book will help them and guide them in that process as well. Kind of
right, and
understanding
and
through.
then do your research.
Gotcha. Do your research, because every area is different. Like, you live where you live. I live in Florida. It's different, but yet the same principle applies. Do your research. Do your research. And
Yeah,
I love it, Linda, that you did this, because this does help people to actually understand, the healthcare system and being in the healthcare system, and also being a caregiver, being the patient, understanding that you do have rights. And like you said, that lady that gave birth in her car because she was refused, she has rights. And I'm glad that
yeah,
they went ahead and took care of the people that were responsible for her not being able to actually deliver in the hospital where she should have been, and been comfortable doing that.
yeah. That's another thing. I read this. If I may, I read this article. Okay, and it happens to be down south. And the article mentioned it was this woman whose husband ended up was the pillar of the community. He was very involved in the community, involved in the hospital very much. He ended up having a procedure and which they were negligent on. Okay, so she sued him. So she went and so she spoke with this gentleman. This gentleman said, "Well, that doesn't surprise me because I think a relative of mine, a person I'm close to. I don't recall what if it was his wife or um ended up there was negligence of that hospital, but I didn't pursue suing them.
Mm.
So you have your rights. So
Yeah.
if the hospital was negligent, then you have that right to take and pursue that. If insurance takes and denies you, you have a right to take and keep pursuing that for them to accept it,
Yeah.
the claim. Yeah, you have a right to for primary care to listen to you, not gaslight you.
Yeah.
If a,
Yeah.
if a physician gaslights you, adios, amigo.
Yeah.
So you have that right. You have that, to,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then tell him straight to his face, listen, you're gaslighting me.
Mm.
Well,
Hello.
what goes on here?
Yeah,
You
exactly.
have a right to say that.
Yes, you do. Yeah, you do. I had white coat at one point in my, going to the doctor, and every time I went to this doctor, I'm not going to reveal who they are, but I went to this doctor, and every time I went to this doctor, either I had diabetes or I had high blood pressure or something wrong with me. And I told her, like next to the last time that I went, I said, it's not me, it's you. You're driving me crazy. Every time I prepare to come here, I'm scared that I'm going to have a new disease. I said, and the next thing is that I'll call you and tell you that I need an appointment because I'm not feeling good, and you send me a prescription. You haven't even seen me yet, and you're already medicating me for something that you don't even know I have. I said, and then I said, I'm getting a new doctor. So I got a new doctor, and my white coat is no longer there. Like, my blood pressure's fine, my sugar's fine, everything's fine now that I'm with the new doctor. And they called me from the old doctor's office saying, you're beyond the point where you need to come in and do your checkup. I said, I'm never coming back there again. You're never getting me in there again. And I said, don't you ever call me ever again.
Yeah, you tell him, girl.
I was like, no. So you can advocate for yourself. Get a new doctor if you have to. Get a second and third opinion. Go ahead and check this book out for yourself. I mean, you do have time. You do have time to die and go broke. And I think everybody does.
Yeah, I think, that's the thing that we have to understand is we have to be persistent.
Mm-hmm.
We have to be persistent because basically, you have time to die or you can go broke. If you have to wait 8 hours in the emergency room, you have time to die. If you end up getting denied and you say, oh, well, you have time to die and go broke. You have time to die and go broke when you have to pay thousands of dollars for a prescription.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Wow. Well, Linda, thank you so much for being on the show. Is there anything we missed today that you'd like to say?
Thank you so much for watching, and I wish everyone to stay safe and well. And read, you have time to die and go broke, because with the healthcare system, you need to read it.
Definitely. And we're going to put that link in the description so it'll be easy for you guys to find that book and go ahead and get that if that is something that you're interested in. I think everybody should go ahead and check that book out, because everyone at the sound of my voice is going to be at one point or another, regardless of your age, in that ER, in that urgent care, at that doctor's office, which is probably going to drive you crazy like me, but it's okay. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you, Linda, for being on the show. I appreciate it.
And thank you. I enjoy so much talking with you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And I with you. All right, guys. And until next time, don't forget to dare to be different. Bye. Bye.